Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a woman named Kisa Gautami who had a beloved young child. Tragically, her child fell ill and died. Overcome with grief, Kisa Gautami carried her child's body from house to house, asking for help, but no one could cure him. Finally, someone told her to go to the Buddha, who might have the answer. Kisa Gautami went to the Buddha and said, "Master, please bring my son back to life." The Buddha, understanding her deep sorrow, replied, "I can help, but first, you must bring me a mustard seed from a family that has never experienced death." Kisa Gautami, in her grief, eagerly set out to find such a family. She went from house to house, but every family she visited had experienced the death of a loved one. Whether it was a parent, spouse, or child, every household had faced loss. After searching in vain, Kisa Gautami returned to the Buddha. With tears in her eyes, she realized the truth of what the Buddha had shown her. Death is a natural part of life, and every living being must face it. The Buddha explained to her that suffering arises from attachment, and understanding the impermanence of life helps us accept death and release ourselves from grief. Kisa Gautami, now enlightened, understood that death is inevitable for all. She let go of her attachment and found peace in her heart, realizing that everything, including life and death, is transient. From that moment on, she became a follower of the Buddha, living with wisdom and compassion. After Kisa Gautami returned to the Buddha, she began to understand the profound truth that had previously eluded her in her grief. She had been consumed by the desire to bring her son back to life, unable to accept the reality of death. The Buddha, with his compassionate teachings, showed her that death is a natural part of life, and every living being must face it. The Buddha explained that suffering arises from attachment, and when we understand impermanence, we can accept death and release ourselves from grief. Kisa Gautami realized that it was her attachment to her son that caused her suffering. She understood that the pain wasn't because of her son's death, but because she had not been able to accept the inevitable reality of change and loss. In that moment of realization, she felt a deep sense of relief and peace in her heart. She decided to approach the community of monks and formally request to become a follower of the Buddha. She knew that through the Buddha's teachings, she could learn how to overcome grief and suffering and help others do the same. As she continued her practice, Kisa Gautami let go of her attachment to the past and focused on living mindfully in the present. She became known for her deep wisdom and compassion, sharing her story with others who were grieving. She encouraged them to understand that while sorrow is inevitable, our response to it, our attachment and resistance, is what truly causes suffering. Through her experience and the Buddha's teachings, Kisa Gautami found liberation from her grief. She no longer saw death as something to fear or resist, but as a natural and inevitable part of the cycle of life. She accepted the truth that everything is impermanent, and that attachment only leads to suffering. Kisa Gautami's story spread throughout the village, and many people found comfort and wisdom in her words. Her journey became a powerful example of how the Buddha's teachings can transform lives and bring peace, even in the face of loss. Ultimately, Kisa Gautami's suffering led her to enlightenment. Her heart became open and free, no longer burdened by grief, and she was able to live a life filled with compassion, understanding, and inner peace. As time passed, Kisa Gautami's transformation became a source of inspiration for many in her village and beyond. Her story spread far and wide, and people from all walks of life sought her guidance. They came to her not only for wisdom on how to cope with the loss of loved ones but also for deeper understanding of how to live a life of peace and acceptance. Kisa Gautami continued her spiritual journey with devotion, meditating daily, reflecting on the Buddha's teachings, and living with mindfulness. She never forgot the lessons she learned through her own grief, that attachment to impermanent things leads to suffering, and that true peace comes from letting go. One day, a grieving man came to her, asking for help with the loss of his wife. As he sat before Kisa Gautami, he spoke of his sorrow, just as she once had. Kisa Gautami looked at him with compassion and said, "Your pain is real, but remember, we all must face loss. I, too, have experienced the death of someone dear. But I have learned that the key to healing is not to resist, but to accept. It is through acceptance of impermanence that you can find peace. She spoke with such clarity and love that the man felt a shift within him. The weight of his grief began to lift as he started to understand that, though the pain of loss never truly disappears, acceptance and understanding could bring comfort and tranquility. With time, the man, too, found peace, just as Kisa Gautami had. In her later years, Kisa Gautami became a respected and revered teacher. She shared the Buddha's teachings on impermanence, the nature of suffering, and the path to liberation with countless others. Her wisdom touched many hearts, and her life became a living example of the Buddha's teachings in action. One of her final teachings, spoken to her followers, was, "Everything in life is impermanent, even life itself. But through the acceptance of this truth, we find freedom. When we stop clinging to the illusion of permanence, we open ourselves to the peace that lies in the present moment. Let go of your attachments, and you will be free." Kisa Gautami's life and teachings left a lasting impact on the world, and her story continues to inspire people on the path of understanding, letting go, and finding peace in the face of suffering. As Kisa Gautami grew older, her fame as a wise and compassionate teacher spread even farther. Many sought her counsel, and she traveled from village to village, sharing the profound teachings of the Buddha. Her personal story of grief, loss, and eventual peace touched the hearts of countless individuals. The wisdom she had gained through her own suffering became a light that guided others through their own pain. Kisa Gautami's teachings were not just about death and impermanence. She also spoke about the importance of living a life of mindfulness, kindness, and compassion. She reminded her followers that suffering was not just the result of loss, but also the consequence of clinging to things, people, or ideas that we perceive as permanent. Through letting go, she explained, one could experience true freedom. In her teachings, she often spoke of the interconnectedness of all beings. She encouraged her followers to cultivate loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna. Understanding that we are all connected in the cycle of life and death. She shared stories of how the Buddha's teachings helped her to overcome grief and accept the impermanence of all things, and how that acceptance led to peace and liberation from suffering. One day, Kisa Gautami gathered her followers in a beautiful, peaceful forest clearing. She stood before them, and with a calm, radiant presence, she shared one last teaching. All things arise, endure, and pass away. But in that cycle, there is beauty in every moment. Do not fear death or cling to life. Instead, embrace each moment with open-hearted awareness. Understand that every step, every breath, is a gift, a fleeting moment that will soon pass. Live in a way that honors this impermanence, and you will find peace that is beyond all suffering. Her words lingered in the hearts of those present, and as she spoke, there was a quiet stillness in the air. Those who listened felt the depth of her understanding and the peace that came from accepting the impermanence of life. As the years went by, Kisa Gautami continued to inspire those around her. Eventually, she grew very old, and her health began to decline. One evening, as she lay on her deathbed, surrounded by her devoted followers, she smiled peacefully. She knew her time had come to leave this life. With a final breath, Kisa Gautami passed away, leaving behind a legacy of wisdom and compassion. Her teachings continued to live on in the hearts of those she had touched. Her story became a beacon of hope for those suffering from grief, showing them that acceptance of impermanence and the practice of letting go can bring peace, even in the face of death. Her followers, both near and far, carried her message forward. They shared her story, passed on her teachings, and continued to practice the Dharma in her honor. Through them, Kisa Gautami's legacy lived on, reminding the world that true peace comes not from holding on, but from letting go. The story of Kisa Gautami is a profound testament to the power of acceptance and letting go in the journey to overcome suffering. From the endless grief of losing her child to the enlightenment and peace she found through understanding impermanence, Kisa Gautami underwent a spiritual transformation that is deeply inspiring. Not only did she find liberation for herself, but she also became a beacon of light for those who were suffering. Through her life and teachings, we learn that suffering is an unavoidable part of life, but how we face and accept it is what determines our inner peace and freedom. Her teachings on letting go of attachment to impermanent things, living fully in the present, and accepting change have opened the path to liberation for thousands of people. Kisa Gotami's life serves as a clear reminder that, no matter the challenges and losses life presents, we can always find peace through understanding and compassion. As she taught, live in a way that honors impermanence, and you will find peace beyond all suffering. The legacy of Kisa Gautami lives on, not only in her words but also in the hearts of those who follow the path of the Buddha's teachings, learning to live with acceptance, love, and true inner peace.